Alright, so I've already prepped my eyelids and everything, and I'm going to be using the Morphe Dare to Create palette. This palette really spoke to me. The only problem that I have with it is the fact that I have black like all over my hands because the Muse shade, which is the black shade, completely exploded. And I will say that it's pretty cool that it's so pigmented, but it's not cool that it's getting all over every single thing that I have. I literally have to put a towel down whenever I bring this out, and then by the time I'm done, I have like black smears everywhere. I've looked up things and they told me to put like alcohol in it, and honestly, it really didn't do anything, and it didn't like mash it down at all or anything like that, so whatever. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and start. I'm gonna use the shade. You can get like a really small brush. These smaller brushes are really good for crease work, like putting down that first color. When you want to buff something out, you choose a fluffier, bigger brush. But to set down colors, you usually want to use something a little bit smaller, something a little bit more precise if you're really just trying to go in that crease right there instead of like all over. And I'm going to take the shade Canvas, which is one of those bigger pans, and just gonna first I kind of start in the middle here, and then I kind of like work my way out a little bit and kind of drag it down to that V. As you can tell, these are really pigmented, so don't go crazy. And then I'm kind of dragging it in just a little bit, but these can get pretty messy, like any eyeshadow, not just this palette. So these can get pretty messy, so I don't want to keep dragging and dragging and dragging more and more in, because that will darken up a lot quicker than all the rest of it. And it already looks like I've kind of gotten a heavy hand here, and I'll like barely put in my brush. They did reformulate these. They did a whole revamp like right after the Jaclyn Hill palette, but I think that was all because if you listen to her video on her palette, she talks about them using like all brand new machines and pressing these to like the best they could possibly be. And you can tell with her palette because it's so good. You know, it's such a step up from normal Morphe shadows. Not to say that any of the rest of them are bad, it's just these are so much better, and they're so much creamier, and they're so much more pigmented. They kind of mirror the kind of quality that we've had in their shimmers. Like, their shimmers have always been really good, but their mattes have been kind of, you know, so-so. And so this palette is like the revamped formula. I'm sure of it because it blends out so much easier. It's so much more pigmented and everything. And anyway, their new stuff's pretty bomb. Kind of mirroring each other. I almost always like to drag down the crease shade down to here, just because it helps blending out with the colors that we put down next. And to kind of like blur that top line like up here, even though that's pretty blended, I still wouldn't mind it being a little bit more blended. So I'm going to pick out one of those big fluffy brushes. I'm just going to kind of go over. I'm not putting anything on this brush. I'm going to kind of go over all these edges to kind of blur it even more. And really make sure there's not like a definite line where my eyeshadow stops and starts. Should be kind of a gradient. I'm picking up that little tiny brush one more time, and we're gonna go in with the shade Define Me. It's like a slightly more orangey version of a crease shade, like it's just a very, very warm crease shade. And I'm gonna put that almost underneath the crease so that when it's blending up, it doesn't go any farther past the crease, you know? It's not gonna be like super crazy and like go all the way up to the brow bone or anything. I'm just using very light pressure. And then when I start getting to these outside regions, like the middle toward the outside, I'm going to go in slightly circular motions to really, really blend these out. So, I'm gonna put this like I'm gonna put it all over the lid because I want it to set as a kind of like a base because we're gonna use such a vivid color, which is funny because the color is actually called Vivid. Interesting. Alright, I'm going to take one of these flat brushes. I really like using these for matte shades when I'm trying to like go all over the lid and pack as much product as I can on there. This probably will have fallout, so I'm not wearing any foundation or anything. If you were to put foundation on, you could put like a lot of setting powder right here and kind of catch it and then just brush it away. I'm going to be taking this Vivid shade. It's like this really like hot orange. And I'm going to start here in the middle of the lid and then just work my way around and pack it up as much as I can or want to. This is just going to be kind of like a base for the red that we're going to put over top of it. I just want to make sure, like a lot of shimmer shades sometimes can look almost see-through, and I really want to make sure that everything is screaming with this orangey red. That big fluffy brush that we had before, I'm just going to I'm going to tilt it so that the whole brush isn't on my eyelid, and that edge of this fluffy brush will start to blend that line away. Now I'm going to take my finger, because this is how I like to apply the shadows the most. This is the shade Snatched. It's like this beautiful, like, fire red. Almost with a pinky undertone. Okay, so now that we have like our base, like fire engine red, I'm gonna take this stiffer angled brush, pick up a little bit of Vibrant and Frame. The Vibrant is like this orangey, almost terracotta looking color, and Frame is like a very, very dark brown. It's a very dark chocolatey brown. And I'm just going to kind of plant that on the outer edge. Make this look maybe a little bit more wearable. On pretty strong. I'm going to take that little tiny pencil brush. I guess I really shouldn't call it a pencil brush. It's more of a finer brush, I guess. And there is black, I mean, literally all over everything. I had to really be careful because I have like black smudges like all over my face from resting my hand. And that is the only complaint that I've had with this thing, is just that it came broken. This is the second Morphe palette to have done that, but I have had others come perfectly fine. And I'm not really sure how they would package them differently so that they wouldn't break so often. It almost looked as if it had been hit before it had been put in the box. You know, because it wasn't the box that it was carrying. The palette was, like, it didn't look like it had been sat on or anything with, like, the corner. But if you looked at the corner of the palette, that's what kind of got a little messed up. So it almost looked like something was set down really heavily on the corner and it had bent it. And then they put it in the box, and that's, I don't know how they put them in the boxes. I don't know if it's like a machine, probably is, but like a machine to like carry it, and somehow it like bumped something, or I don't know. But they packaged them really well with like tissue paper and all this other kind of stuff. And I just wanted the palette, so I didn't even, I remember the first time I complained about it, they sent me a replacement shade for what was in the palette, and because it wasn't attached to my palette, I like never used it. It's still in one of my Z palettes over there, but it's not like some crazy, it's not some crazy thing that I'm constantly using or anything like that. I'm gonna go ahead. I want to darken this up with some black. I think black is needed in this dramatized look. We're gonna do eyeliner and the whole 9 yards. So I'm going to take this smaller flat brush. This is one of the Naked brushes, the 88M44F. And I'm going to pick up a little bit of this black that I keep destroying. One of these days I'll figure out how to package it. And I'm just going to kind of work this in the very corner. That is a pigmented black. Wow. Okay. I see you, Morphe. I see you. Looking at that canvas shade with like a little angled brush to just kind of start the transition off. I'm going to take this pencil brush from e.l.f. and I'm going to go in with that shade Vibrant. It's that kind of terracotta-y color. And I'm just going to run that up under and connect the corner. I'm going to go into that frame, that chocolatey brown that we had. I'm going to run this all the way to like the middle of my eye, because I don't want it to be so much red as I do just kind of like hinting at the red that we had over top, but I really do want it to be very dark down here. Put on some mascara. I'm going to be using the Tarte Gifted mascara. This is in, oh, it's in Gifted, but it's their Smart mascara, whatever that is. And I'm going to be using my trusty highlighter palette. And I'm going to be using this shade of the top one of this Blink palette. This was a BoxyCharm exclusive, so I doubt you can even get any more, which basically makes this palette completely useless in this video because y'all can't get it. But I do want to say these Blink eyeshadows are so good. I'm going to be highlighting the brow bone, even though I haven't done anything to my eyebrows in over a month and a half now. And they're huge and horrible and kind of like monsters right now. I literally have so much hair underneath my brows. It's terrible. And put a little bit on my nose. Get that dewy reflect. This is the Prosecco Pop by Becca. I pretty much only ever use this shade when I have like a lot of bronzer on. Or I'm going to be using my Bite lipstick in Honeycomb. This is almost even a little purpley itself. And so I'm going to put this Anastasia Beverly Hills lip gloss in Butterscotch over it to kind of give it a little bit more peach. Okay, y'all, this is the finished look. I hope you like it. I really wanted to do something this red. As you can tell, my arm looks like it's been like burned on a, you know those cookie racks that you like put out cookies or something and like you're trying to, or getting the cookie out of the thing. I actually have burned myself before on those things, and so has my mom. So that's why it reminds me of it. It's like the lines that you see. I don't know why my mind immediately went to cookies. Maybe I'm hungry. I actually probably will add one more thing to this now that I'm looking at it. I'm going to be using the Bella Pierre No. 2 eyeliner in Ebony. And I'm just going to kind of put this on the waterline just to deepen it because it is very dramatic. This is the finished look. If you liked it, go ahead and give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. Bye.